So we will be discussing about now blockchain with the reference of Pakistan ecosystem. Blockchain has been happening across the globe, and specifically we have arranged set of speakers and panelists who are basically the gurus of their region. That's the beauty of them. And we are missing the Pakistani link here as well. Obviously, once he will be here, we will be plugging him as well as an expert who is in the space of Pakistan blockchain. So I'll ask them to introduce themselves and the region and what they are doing in the space of blockchain. We'll start with George.
Yes, good afternoon. Hopefully your lunch was good. My name is George Sebastião. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a CTO in Huawei, responsible for the ecosystem of partners. Obviously, in the area of blockchain, there's a lot of innovation being done across the world. Within Huawei, we are focusing in the area of what we call enterprise and telco blockchain, so both implementation scenarios, which is quite important. So on the telco side, obviously blockchain can play quite an important role in the area of establishing trust between the various telcos. As you know, there's a lot of transfers of CDR rating information, which has financial implications. And obviously blockchain is extremely important in driving that transformation. The second area that blockchain plays an important role is in the area of enterprise blockchain. So regardless of where your enterprise is, banking, shipping, healthcare, or any others, so we are providing what we call blockchain as a service, both in the private or public cloud, but primarily for a private cloud environment. And we have standardized on Hyperledger, which is based on open source. And this allows you as an organization to build your applications on top of a trusted distributed ledger technology that is for your own internal consumption, not to be shared on internet. So it allows you to build trusted shipping applications, trusted banking applications, trusted logistics, etc.
Perfect. Sharik Hashmi.
Hi, my name is Sharik Hashmi. First of all, I am thankful to Lift Pakistan team and to organize this event over here in Islamabad, Pakistan. I am the co-founder and the project lead for ZXC and Bitesh for You. What we are doing, we are integrating the traditional assets and some of sort of digital assets together at one platform, including we are providing the finance option on blockchain. So like I have been associated with the technology for the last 4 years. I'm based in Dubai, and we have been doing the education and training and enterprise solutions in Dubai as well as Middle East region. So we are very much involved in the Middle East region related to the blockchain. And for our own projects, we are doing some mining operations in Georgia and some other liquidity pools in the form of blockchain. Thank you.
All right, now we move to the next continent. Actually, the first two gentlemen, obviously the first one, George, is from Canada, and he has worked a lot in the blockchain space in North America and plus in the Middle East, wider Middle East region as well. And Sharik is based in Dubai, having operations in Estonia and plus Georgia as well. So we move to the next continent, which is the Europe, and I'll ask Wasim to introduce himself and his role in the space.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Wasim Sadiq. I am a Dutch-born Pakistani. I guess that's the definition. I am a serial entrepreneur. Started out in the blockchain space in 2013. And since then, I've been working on various projects. I've invested in some projects. Right now, I'm the CEO of a company called TradeBits. We have a stall in a beautiful stall area in the back. And we focus a lot on setting up payments and remittance network using blockchain. That's our main focus because we believe that blockchain can enable a swift transfer of wealth from across borders without losing some aspects and make it interesting. And I guess on this panel we'll be talking a bit more about that as well. As Salman Bhai said, I was born in the Netherlands, so I understand the region pretty well. My parents were from Pakistan, so I understand this region somewhat, and I'm very interested in seeing like how we can do like a cross-cultural, cross-border collaboration using these new technologies.
Wonderful. And we move to now Southeast Asia. And gentleman sitting with us is from Malaysia, and he will introduce himself. Lance.
Hi, I'm Lance. I represent the NEM Foundation. The NEM.io Foundation is actually a non-profit organization. So what we are is, we are the blockchain protocol itself. So what we do primarily is actually to educate and promote blockchain to the regions. We talk to education departments, we talk to universities, we talk to academia, we talk to governments, we talk to corporates. We teach them about blockchain. That's all we do. As a non-profit, all our services are actually free. And if anybody actually wants to learn about blockchain, they can actually contact us. Now, the reason why I am here is because I'm actually very interested in the region to see how we can expand blockchain into this area. Because blockchain has a lot of use cases, has a lot of potential to solve a lot of socio-economic problems or issues that certain countries have. So this is one of the reasons that I'm here.
All right, we move to again back to Europe, and Oscar today flew from Dubai basically, but he's based in Sweden as well. What's the scene here, there in the...
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So my name is Oscar and I'm a Swedish-born Dubaian. So I live in Dubai since 2007. And I'm the founder of something called Strategic Tech Coaching, where we look at how technology can be used for good. And in that process, I have a podcast where I interview people. And in the last year, I interviewed several of the top minds in blockchain, and I got fascinated by this topic, and I'm looking at the user cases, how we can use blockchain for good, basically. That's my background.
Oh, wonderful. Ironically, somehow, for some reason, today we are representing the exact picture where we are standing as a nation, as Pakistani, in terms of blockchain. Our guest from Pakistan, who will be representing the Pakistan picture, is still missing. So that's ironic, but that's the real case at the moment we are facing, that Pakistan is missing out a big train here. And we have to do a lot of catch up. I hope he will join us in a few minutes, but that's just an accidental thing. He might be somewhere around and he will be joining us, but this is an ironic situation. And that's why we have put together this panel, that what's happening across and why is not happening in Pakistan. This is the whole objective of this panel discussion. Now, I'll go to George. What's stopping, you've been here for like a week or so now, you have met so many individuals from the tech side. What's stopping Pakistan to adopt blockchain?
Well, first let's talk blockchain evolution by itself. It's a space that has been happening a little bit for the last 9 years. So we have gone initially, Bitcoin, you can call it blockchain 1.0. Ethereum came after 3 to 4 years, and we had basically what you can call blockchain 2.0, which introduced some interesting features like smart contracts and alternative methods for consensus and the extra capabilities as well. And now we're entering the area in the last 2 years of blockchain 3.0, trying to address the issues of things like scalability, less power consumption, more efficiency, and being able to also support the traditional enterprise environment. So that really brings us to what is the necessary capacity that needs to be built. I think on one side, we need to embark on massive amounts of education, training, and awareness. So what I mean by education is the kind of thing you do in colleges, in universities. Training is the kind of thing that gives you certification after that education. Tends to specific on various basically blockchain technologies. I mentioned Hyperledger, we have NEM, there's Ethereum, which has its own language as well. A lot of them use JavaScript, which is more knowledgeable. Only about 5% of the people know the language that is used today in Ethereum. Where we look at JavaScript, 95% of the people can actually code in JavaScript. So this makes accessibility in the programming of smart contracts to a much larger audience. So once that is done, I think it's important to build a good ecosystem. So this ecosystem combines both the Ethereum platform as well as the system integrators that will actually start rolling out successful projects. So we have many examples of those organizations that are being created. What is important for those organizations is obviously to have successful use cases. Because one thing I noticed about the Middle East and other areas is that people don't make decisions, they arrive at decisions. It's a bit different than North America. North America, people compare things and they make a decision. Here, in the Middle East as a whole, people say, oh, it's not quite ready, there's risk, so we delay the decision. So that's why the notion of time is not as important. So that really means we need to remove all the risks so that people can make the necessary movement towards achieving that decision. And once that is done, I think it's important to also have the right level of certifications. So I think a few of them have been introduced, but it's still in the early stages of maturity. Because at the end of the day, if you're an enterprise and you want to deal with a blockchain programmer or developer or system integrator, you want to know what is your credentials. On one side will be the successful use cases, but on the other side is qualified staff that has the right skill set.
Competency building is your reason that that needs to be done first, and then we can go for the mass adoption.
That is correct.
Sharik, what's your version on? Okay, well, first let's go to Lance has some views
Actually,
on it.
I believe there's only two things that's stopping a country to actually adopt blockchain. Two things. One of them is fear.
Yeah.
Because when you don't understand something, you fear it. So that's why we are actually here to educate the public. So education is key to actually bring up the awareness of what blockchain is all about, what are the problems it can solve. Because blockchain is actually a technology. It is nothing more.
Education of whom? Like we are talking about decision makers, or we are talking about the competency development. That's probably where I believe that it's a ripple effect.
So it really depends.
Pyramid.
It really depends on what are the applications of blockchain you're actually talking about. If you're talking about blockchain applications in the fintech industry, in the in banking sector, definitely you need the central banks or the state banks understanding and also blessings to actually do applications on blockchain for the fintech industry. If you're talking about applications in the, let's say, education sector, how are you using blockchain in education sector does not necessarily mean it needs to be regulated by a certain party. So again, it's understanding that it is a technology and it should not be feared as a technology.
Right. Sharik, what's your take on Pakistan's adoption for the blockchain?
Well, when we have started like 4 years ago in Dubai, if you remember, where we have discussed in detail, Pakistan is at the same situation at this moment.
Correct.
Initially, Middle East or Dubai, they were very much reluctant that they don't want to adopt this technology. And when we have started the education, the same thing, like my colleagues, they have mentioned, we have started the education and training programs there, free of cost. And initially there were only few people, and then gradually it was increased. So the point is that once we have some sort of penetration in the market, either private level or the government level, then governments will get involved. The second thing is that over here, the decision makers, especially for the government of Pakistan, they are very much conventional. It's a matter of fair too, but the point is that if the other countries, they are adopting the solution or the technology, they have to follow something. They have their own sandbox solutions for the other countries. They can see and they can observe. But over here, especially the decision makers, they take too much time. Okay, and especially when I'm talking about, I have had some sort of meetings with the banking side and especially the SECP side. They are very much reluctant. They don't want to adopt the technology at this moment. And the other thing is that education in our institutes, university and colleges, right now we are still giving the education which is like 10 to 20 years old. So we have to advise our universities or start some programs by ourselves to educate the youth, especially the youth. Like my priority over here is to develop some developers in the blockchain. We have had so many projects and we have distributed it all over the world, but not Pakistan. The point was that when I came over here, like in early September, there were no developers available. So we have given the projects to other developers. So my focus is to develop the developers. Once we have the blockchain developers, then it will be easily to adopt the technology in this region.
All right. Wasim, you are in the space for since 2013. It's a
Yes.
long time, and we
Yes.
talk about a blockchain being that long. You have seen evolution of this
Yes.
space been growing up, especially in your region. Share what's your thought, how we can trickle it to our region
So
now.
I want to actually do something else.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about the challenges for Pakistan, I want to talk about the opportunities for other countries. And the reason I want to do that is because I want it to be an inspiration for how Pakistan could use that. For example, in the Netherlands, if you go back in history, the Dutch people used to be traders. Like at one point, they even owned the biggest Muslim country in the world, Indonesia, right? And they did all this conquering and all these things. And that mentality, it has stayed in the people. So when a new technology comes around, whether it be like internet, whether it be like anything that's disruptive, we've seen a couple of these waves. What the people do is they look at these things and they think about like how can we become the masters of this technology. And the important thing here is basically, like the advice that the great poet Allama Iqbal gave to the youth is like be an eagle, right? Fly around and look at like what's happening. And I think, Pakistan should do more of that. We should be focused much more on identifying and creating opportunities for ourselves versus waiting for someone to like either allow this country to, proceed or look at for example, my focus is on fintech and the financial industry. And look at all the roadblocks that have been put up. I think there's still no PayPal in Pakistan, if I'm correct. They just launched. Okay, good, great progress, right? But there's still so many roadblocks, for Pakistan to participate in the international community. However, there is a revolution taking place, and the revolution is called blockchain. And blockchain actually it gives back some of the power to the people. And I think especially now, the timing is perfect to take some of this into our own hands in this country. And that's what we should be focusing on.
Absolutely. Here, the timing is perfect, and I would like to take one thing which I learned from Khurram last time we met in the last trip, and he shared about frog leaping. I think it's an opportunity for Pakistan in that sense that we, even if I have to catch up, but we still can get a lot from these regions, from other people, from other companies, from other regions. Lot we can sense or take from their experiences, their challenges, so we can frog leap. This is still an opportunity for us rather than just a challenge. I'll go to Oscar now. Oscar, you are having your own podcast, and you interview a lot of blockchain experts and specialists. What's your take? How did they started their journey? Because here so many people are having inspirations, and they are like looking forward how they can step into the world of a blockchain. You have heard from so many of the experts, specialists. What was their journey about, and how would you like to suggest what should the Pakistanis, the youth, the enterprises, the decision makers, how they can jump in now into the bandwagon of blockchain?
I mean, it's such a new technology, so the first thing is awareness is the first step, and then there's so much material out there. You can go to podcasts, you can go to YouTube, and you can learn so much about this, and it's an evolving space, and so we should all focus on that. Just keep us up to date, learn, participate in these kind of discussions, and that's everyone that it's a new technology. So the ones that I interviewed, some of them just started, 1 or 2 years ago. But since it's so evolving, then they are now the experts and on the forefront of this. So,
Right.
Can I ask you a
Yeah.
question, Oscar?
yeah.
Lance.
Oh, sorry, Lance.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Wasim, and then we'll go to the Lance.
No, go ahead.
So I just wanted to understand, so what I see, for example, in Europe is from a risk appetite point of view, right? Can you maybe talk a little bit more about that? Like, what should people be doing? Because a lot of times I get the sense, and maybe I'm wrong, right, that people are much more risk averse in Pakistan, whereas in Europe we tend to take more risks because the failure doesn't mean like the end of the road. It just means you kind of pick yourself up and start again. Maybe you could talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, if you look at Sweden and probably Holland as well, there's a lot of support systems. So even if you start your business and fail, you can. That's okay. You're not on the street or in prison, like some other countries where if you have a bounce check, you're in prison. So I think that should be maybe a government regulatory that make it easier, because to build a business there will be failures in the beginning, and if those failures, if the consequence is so bad, that then people won't take that risk. I think
Yeah.
like Sweden has a lot of startups. Like we were listening to the Swedish ambassadors talking about the unicorns in Stockholm, highest number of unicorns after Silicon Valley, that companies that they took to more than 1 billion in valuation. And one thing is that people are okay to take that risk because there are support system. So that needs to come from the government.
And that support system has to come from the decision makers itself. And that's my point, that people need to start the top management from the enterprises, top management in the governments, regulators, they need to be savvy enough for the blockchain. They need to be having an understanding of the challenges going from centralized world to the decentralized world. So this is probably the right strategy that we have to start from that point. I'll go to Lance and then I'll ask a couple of questions. I'll take a couple of questions from the audience as well. Yes, Lance.
Yeah, actually, I got one point to actually point out that in blockchain, I believe, this is my own personal view, there's only two parties that actually need to understand what blockchain is all about. Number one is the business owner. When I say business owner, it can mean that it's the business process owner. It could be the government leader. It could be the person who owns the company. So the business process owner and the developers. These are the two parties that really need to understand blockchain. Because if we had to explain blockchain to the masses, it means the technology would have failed already. Because ask yourself this, if you were to buy something on Amazon or Lazada or Alibaba, right? Do you even need to care what database they use? You shouldn't have to care. So
Yeah.
it should be transparent to the end users. So the end users don't need to understand the technologies. It's just these two parties, which is the business owners and also the developers. That's all.
George, you want to add something?
I do believe they don't necessarily need to understand the inner workings of the technology, but they need to trust the technology and they need to feel comfortable with the technology. And this is much more difficult than it appears. If we go back to Canada 30 plus years ago, we introduced the ATMs. And as you know, Canada had an aging population at the time. People were getting 60 years old and more. And when you went into a bank, how did you do a banking transaction? There used to be a small booklet that had your ledger, and this was very similar to the blockchain. We have a ledger here as well. And this booklet was your bank balance. Then Canada introduced the famous ATMs. So the people that were retired at the time, they did not trust the ATMs. As soon as they did an ATM transaction, they ran back into the bank to update that small ledger because they trusted more this ledger than they actually trusted the ATM machine. So in blockchain, we have actually the same situation. The masses have to trust and not necessarily understand all the inner workings. To add more to that, although blockchain is a technology of trust, we have a lot of work to do. So far this year, $1.6 billion has been lost in blockchain transactions. That's more than the GDP of many countries around the world. So on one side we have technology of trust, another one we have people that are taking advantage of this technology to drive Lambos around at the cost of the poor guys that don't know the risks associated with this technology.
Right. We have time for one question. Who would like to ask question with whom? Okay, I got the. I'll come to you. Yes. I'll.
Given that all of you are early adopters of blockchain, but when you look at people like Warren Buffett or other traditionalists who actually go against the idea of blockchain, and some of them actually say that this is a big bubble, how do you as early adopters react to something like that?
30 seconds for the bubble burst.
Okay. Your question is about bubble. I agree 300% with you. Today, blockchain as a technology has an element of bubble. And the bubble is actually nothing to do with the technology itself. Is that the fact that today, there is not enough use cases to sometimes justify the value associated with some of these coins. Other than that, the technology is amazing. So we need to drive more use cases, and then the value will justify itself, and you will have success.
All right, 30 seconds for Sharik to comment on the bubble part.
Well, for the this Warren Buffett in this statement and for the other big guys statement is related to the Bitcoin. It's not to the blockchain technology. They always prefer to have the blockchain technology in their system as well. So they say the bubble is from the cryptocurrencies. It's not from the technology by itself. Is very secure and highly motivated. I mean, you cannot change anything in that ledger. So the point is that bubble is for the cryptocurrencies, but the point I want to mention is the cryptocurrency has made from the nodes of the Bitcoin. Okay, and from the Bitcoin, everything has started, the blockchain concept. So we need to respect the nodes too, and the Bitcoin. So that is the point. So the bubble is related not to the technology, but the Bitcoin.
All right, Fasim.
So I don't know if they changed it now, but the last time I looked at Warren Buffett's website, it looked like it was made in 1990, you know? So I think he's the wrong person to listen to for this kind of innovation.
That's why I said he's a traditionalist.
No, but look, it's good. It's good that he's here. It's good to listen to him because, you know, exactly, right? No, it's good because there's truth in what they're saying because it's about speculation, right? And it was just said, you know, blockchain is not only about speculation. It's a huge industry. It's a huge potential. And you had the same people that were saying the same thing about the internet. And look, it's a tool. It can be used for good and for bad. You know, it's like any tool in the world. You can use it for good and for bad. It's the same with, you know, crypto, a word we don't like to use in this country, but it's true.
Sure. Lance.
So, fact of the matter that this question actually came about means that the awareness is also not there that cryptocurrencies and blockchain are actually two separate matters. The technology itself is sound, but the use case, in this case cryptocurrency, is in question here. So I would ask Warren Buffett, does he even know what blockchain means?
Good question.
Good challenge. Oscar, your last take on cryptocurrencies and the bubble side of the blockchain.
Yeah, I interviewed Johan Stoffan Holstein. He's a Swedish entrepreneur. I interviewed him on my podcast. And he was part of the first internet bubble in Sweden, 94, 95, 96. Was part of building up 3 unicorns. And he compared the crypto and the blockchain to Internet 1995. That's approximately where blockchain is. So I think Warren Buffett is a long-term guy, and crypto is a long-term thing. So he'll probably be dead in 20 years.
Okay,
so.
well, we wish him a long life, by the way. Anyways, I'll conclude here by answering the same question that, yes, he referred about the internet bubble. And if we go back before internet bubble or dot-com bubble, the applications of internet we are using at the moment is only email. That's the max, or maybe some e-commerce websites. That's what continued after the bubble burst. Bubble bursts are required. They are must for any ecosystem, any industry, especially for the tech. Why? What is the reason? Once the bubble burst gets over, we get filtered use cases, filtered professionals for the right reasons. And then you get Facebooks, LinkedIn's, Airbnb, and so on and so forth. So we hope we have provided some value to you and appetite for tomorrow's build-up as for the blockchain conference. We will look forward to have you all there from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All the gentlemen except Lance, which we thanks for him to be here for today's session. But anyways, all the gentlemen are here till tomorrow evening, and they will be sharing their thoughts in the keynotes and panel discussions, lots of them tomorrow. And this is what our objective is, to bring home blockchain, right? Help us to achieve this objective, and I thank all the panelists here. Wonderful contribution. Thanks again who are flying here from different regions and bringing a lot of value to this conference.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. Now I'll request all the panelists to kindly stay on the stage, and would like to invite Awais Rauf, University of Lahore, to give a token of appreciation to all the panelists, please.
Could volunteers please assist with the token of appreciation, please? Thank you. Okay. Okay. Wasim Sadiq Sahab, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the next shield is for Lance Chang. Sure. Sharik Hashmi. Oscar Endermo. George Sebastio. And our very own Salman Anjum Saab. We'd appreciate a round of applause, please.